Straight line looking down from the North Pole. Then if you take planet Earth and here's our natural Earth axis. Here's a spacecraft in Greenland, 12/21/2012, direct line with the North Star. What are the odds of that happening on 12/21/2012?
What's their purpose for doing that on December 21st?
Well, this is a 50,000-year-old clock, and it goes off on 12/21. You put 3 more objects here, and you got line of sight, dampening field.
No, wasn't your question why the straight line, like all the...
There are no straight lines in nature. This is the timeline of Earth. From the 4700 BC to Las Vegas, Nevada, and the building of the Lexer Hotel with a 2 million candle light, a 2 million candle power. The Lexer Hotel is a radio transmitter. It's especially designed, and it went off with all the pyramids on planet Earth simultaneously. When they turned it on, they all set up a harmonic resonance that sent a radio signal out into space 1,000 times more powerful than they thought would happen when they turned the one on. It activated all the pyramids that were built to resonate at frequency within the triangle of what it is. The pyramid in Giza is built like this, which is a diamond. The pyramid on the Yucatan Peninsula is built, this line and this line are identical to the square inch. They're 1,200, or they're, well, from the Yucatan to Giza, I think that's about like 12,000 miles away. They're both identical. Architecturally designed the same. Math, liars figure, but math doesn't lie. Math doesn't lie. I can tell you a few other little nasty little things that are happening. Here's planet Earth. Here's North Korea. 2 years ago, they detonated two atomic bombs, right? Those that did their homework. Okay, these things went off. It was 5 days apart. 140 miles off of Chile. They had a 9.5, biggest earthquake recorded in the history of keeping earthquakes. What they did is they set up a shock wave with the first one, which traveled through the earth, hit this line here, and then went like this, and through the magma created a 9.5 in Chile. That was a bump. The second one popped it. Okay, when it popped the Chile one, that was on the Ring of Fire for the Pacific Ocean. The shock wave then comes back off of this thing as it's ricocheting back over, takes out Christchurch, South Island of New Zealand, then causes a volcano 18,000 feet under the water, bigger than Krakatoa, to explode, creating a 6-foot tsunami. That was all. Nobody died in that because it was 3 miles underwater. This is on the Ring of Fire. And then when the shock wave comes all the way back up and focuses, it hits the trench outside of Japan, creating a 9 on the Richter scale, creating the tsunami, which then took out 3 nukes on the coast, which are dumping 11,000 tons of plutonium radioactive water, 2 million times more potent than it takes to kill a person, into the Pacific Ocean now since the tsunami took place, to keep the cores from going China syndrome. They still haven't got that thing under control. It's still burning out of control. And they pump 11,000 tons of radioactive plutonium water on this thing every day. This isn't made public to the public. There's very little of this is public. Satellite photos in, I think it was April, showed that they're drilling a hole 27,000 feet deep. The first nuke put a crack in the earth. The second nuke was they were able to use the second atomic bomb to identify magma, shock wave through magma. They can target through a shape charge any country on the planet with a shape charge through magma. There's a no-fly zone over North Korea, so their Air Force is useless. But the magma, they can go anywhere on the planet through magma. This was an experiment in a country, the Chile, which is totally... Okay, when Chile got hit, Chile was raised 15 feet as the Pacific plate slid underneath Chile. When the magma came back, it raised the Asian plate 15 feet, including the island of Japan was raised 15 feet as the Pacific plate flattened out and moved underneath. And Hawaii, which is dead center in the middle, dropped 1 foot. Hawaii has a 40,000 cubic mile magma pool underneath it, which created and Volcano National Park cracked a hole 1 mile across and created a 1,000-foot wide pool of lava that rose up 8,600 feet from the base through the mountain. It then blew out a vent 60 feet in diameter at 8 miles per hour, moving magma into the south end of the island, pouring it out into the ocean, creating what's called VOG, V-O-G, volcanic fog, which is silicosis, fibers into the air. It's really, really, really agitating to your lungs when you inhale this stuff. I was there 2 weeks ago and I got a lungful of it. I was sick for 3 days. I was only 20 minutes in the fog. I was driving along and I got some in my lungs and made me sick. Anyways, the island dropped 1 whole foot. And this is all recorded on oscilloscopes that measure magma shock waves. Huh?
All the Hawaiian Islands dropped?
Yeah, the entire middle of the plate dropped, but it cracked open the volcano. And the VOG got really bad after that. Okay, they're drilling the second hole now, and they got a hydrogen bomb going into it. This is 100 times bigger than the atomic bombs. They found that as a result, they found a fissure in the crust of the Earth in North Korea. And they're drilling a hole down in this fissure. They detonate a hydrogen bomb, and now we have a new math problem that shows up. Here's the 43rd parallel, North Korea. 43rd parallel, San Francisco. 43rd parallel, London. If they do a shape charge, and then from the top, it looks like this. Here's the North Pole. Here's San Francisco, and here's London, and London, and here's North Korea with a K. 120-degree angles. Liars figure, but figures don't lie. And on the 43rd, as a shape charge, they can bounce the magma at 120-degree angles and hit the San Andreas. Guess what happens when you hit the San Andreas fault? You got Mount Rainier, which is 40 years past due from its standard 40-year or 38-year eruption. You got Hood, York, and Shasta, all in a straight line, right on the Pacific. You can take Seattle and Portland and write them off. No place to go. The cloud from the 4 volcanoes would be devastating. San Francisco, that would be, you could write that one off. A tsunami would take out Hawaii from San Francisco in a 9.5 or bigger. It would take out Honolulu, which is at sea level, like 1 foot above sea level. And the shape charge going through the magma would hit the gates in London and flood London, taking out the subway systems. And then that would create a tsunami which would hit New York City, which is 4 feet above sea level, and take out New York City, Manhattan Island. And if they miss and they hit Yellowstone, then you got a super volcano 40 miles by 60 miles going off, taking out 2/3 of the United States. All one big dust cloud. So I did this presentation for 2 3-star generals and 1 2-star general for the Russian military, for the Chinese military 6 weeks ago. The one general got sick. They had to take him to the hospital as soon as I got done with this. Somebody knew something. Now there's a side effect, and that's the secondary shock wave. Secondary shock wave takes out Hong Kong with 100 million people. Huh? Yeah. It's also contract.
What's the mindset behind all this?
What's the mindset?
I mean, who is the mindset behind all this?
Well, I'm a guy that does a lot of big thinking. I deal in math, as you know. And when I start doing math, when I start drawing pictures, when I start tracking all the history of mankind, the whole thing turns out to be a big math problem of straight lines all over the planet called ley lines. Turns out that ET going back 100,000 years, and all these ley lines where cities are built on this planet, the 8,500 years of masonry, the book that I own, and all the secrets in 8,500 years of masonry that are written down, and now syntax, and all the mathematical procedures are brought out through that syntax. All the truths that are hidden inside that book. And in knowing how to cipher all this stuff and bring out all the timelines and the facts, and the facts that I say are coming in the future versus the facts that are already been certified through the book in the last 8,500 years, if it's been true for 8,500 years, then why wouldn't it be true for the next 6 weeks? And a lot of this stuff came to me on emails in just glitches, like somebody working at the NASA Center that runs the Hubble telescope sends me a picture of 3 spacecrafts coming this way, and then it's deleted a few seconds later. And then I run the math problems on it and all the rest of the information. You know, anybody remember when Obama took the podium the first day he went to the Joint Chiefs of Staff? He walked up and says, "I didn't make this mess. There's only one president at a time, and I'm not it yet," and walked away. And that was it. Everybody's expecting some great speech. Fact is, he got a bloody nose. He got told about all kinds of things that are not included in the presidential election. What they say and what's going to happen behind closed doors about what's happening with this math interface and how it's affecting the planet. What ET is doing and how it's affecting the planet. All the different terrorist threats and how it's affecting the planet. All the UFO sightings, as well as the time travelers keeping order. Why we're still all here. Why this is allowed to move forward with no interference on a global basis. And when I'm talking a global basis, I mean 150 language translations from my website to be as big as it is, uncontrolled, and with the order that is being conducted from it has been very architecturally designed so it doesn't scare people. And those that need to know, need to know. Those who don't know have no power to make an influence on it. It's only the world leaders that are in a position of needing to know things that are going to be told what is correct. The people, as long as you got your 6-pack of beer, your 600-channel TV, and your Ruffles potato chips, you don't care where the tank parks as long as it doesn't bump the satellite dish. And that's mankind's reality. Question back there.
Have you heard that there was a planet between the Earth and
Nah, that's somebody's tale. That doesn't exist. What's your...
So why would you take the time to share the information with us?
Got to start someplace. No matter where you go, there you are. And wherever you are, that's where you're supposed to be. Make no mistake about it. Everyone is exactly where you're supposed to be. There are things that are said here, things you hear here. You're all good people. Why shouldn't you know what's going on? You're not going to see it on CNN. You're not going to see it on the news. Liars figure, but geometry doesn't lie. And using magma, the Earth's liquid, internally as a target, as a weapon. Okay, let's say they don't do anything. But they make a phone call to the premier of China and make a premier to the London and to Rothschild. North Korea is a very poor country, 85% unemployment. And he says, we've got an atomic bomb here that we're going to detonate and take out Mount Rainier or the Shasta, York, Rainier supervolcano called Yellowstone if we're not given a certain amount of money to support our country. If we're not given open trade and use it as a blackmail weapon. Now they can't stop it. It's in place. It's 25 miles. It's 5 miles underground. And all they got to do is push a button. And what happens if you take out if let's say the supervolcano goes out and 2/3 of the United States are under a cloud for 4 years. You got a black winter, no food, population after the end of 4 years is a few 100,000 people. Northern Hemisphere is completely devastated just because somebody pushed the button. Or the people from the future know who the button's going to be pushed, and those people are removed. There's always a point of control. There is a future. What kind of future is going to be is going to determine. It's relevant that mathematics become relevant because of ET, as well as Earth's own ability to communicate peacefully. So I go around and I teach seminars every few weeks, but these are recorded. Once this goes up on YouTube, there isn't going to be 40 people here watching. There's going to be 40 million people, 400 million people watching the same presentation on YouTube in a couple of weeks. And there's nothing like a math problem which can't be disputed, because if there's one thing everyone in this room does agree on, it's a math problem. And liars may figure, but figures don't lie. And there's no such thing as a straight line in nature. So therefore, somebody has engineered something that it's not supposed to be. And if you engineer something, then you better be pretty responsible for, if you screwed it up when you engineered it, you're going to be fingered at. If you engineer it and you do it correct, you're going to be honored for it. You see? So yeah, I'm being responsible. And yes, this will go up on YouTube. And it will be viewed. And how long did it take for Michael Jackson to know, for the world, for every single person who owns a computer on planet Earth to know that Michael Jackson died? 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Every single person on the planet that owned a TV, radio, newspaper, magazine, iPod, handheld cell phone was called and said the king of pop died. So don't think things can't happen in a moment, that the world can't wake up in a moment, that on November 5th, 2012, I'm in front of the U.S. Court of Federal Claims in Washington, D.C., about 12 hours before election time. And there's going to be newspapers as quantum grammar was put on trial in a Kansas case. And Monty Miller and Russell Gould and myself are all going to be there as 3 federal judges holding the United States Court of Federal Claims responsible for false and misleading information, failure to have an oath of office, and are going to hold the United States government accountable for the election the next day under false and misleading statements.
What is that date?
Huh?
What is that date?
November 5th. In 5 weeks. So the world watching this on CNN on Monday night could very easily walk into the polls Tuesday and write director party David Wynn Miller that they want correct grammar. I don't care what they say and what they think's going on. It ain't going on because it's in fiction. And the world's going to change from fiction to fact overnight. And by December 21st, the world of fiction will be made announcement on the world in all languages that this stops today, that we fix it. No more wars. You can't bring an argument to another human being if you're going to talk in verb. Get your contracts right or go home. All right.
What are they doing with HARP?
What's that?
What are they doing with the HARP program up in Alaska?
High amplification array radiation pulse. HARP is a alpha beta transmitter. There are 12 units around the planet. They can reach down as far as the equator. They are used to control the frequency of your brain through radio wave influence. It's used to take you from an alpha, which is aggressive, to a beta wave, which is docile. It gets 98 degrees Fahrenheit in a populated city like Los Angeles, and people tend to get crazy at 98 degrees. So you change your mind to a beta wave and make you all nice and comfortable at 98 degrees, not irritated. Mob control, that's all it is. Now, if you want to talk about angels don't play this harp, of the satellite 38,000 miles out over the Pacific Ocean, which can't be seen by any earthbound station that controls a microwave to increase the temperature of the surface a half a degree and create weather patterns 3,800 miles across to move El Niños and weather patterns, that was started in 1988. It ran until 1997 when I had it shut off. But they fooled around with it long enough to almost cause a 9.9 earthquake on the San Andreas when they heated up the North American plate 22 degrees and the Pacific plate 25 degrees. I did a seminar in Sacramento and told them, you will turn the temperature down of the United States from 85 in Milwaukee to 25 below zero, and from 85 in Houston, Texas to below freezing. You will hold it there for 22 days. You would take the air, which is blowing from the west to the east over the Yucatan Peninsula, and move it at 50 miles an hour for 22 days from the east to the west, and push El Nino offshore. 24 hours later, the wind blew at 50 miles an hour from the east to the west, and the entire United States of America was put into a deep freeze. And it lasted for exactly 22 days where it was below freezing, bringing the North American plate down enough that it pulled the pressure off of the San Andreas. We didn't have an earthquake, and El Nino was pushed offshore. Remember when all the seals and the marine life were dying because the water was up in the high 70s? Went back down to 55 degrees where it's supposed to be. Because when you move hot water this way, cold water replaces it from the bottom, 3 miles down. Sometimes I got to interfere with the world to save the world, even though I'm not supposed to. Okay. Courtroom. Courtroom's divided into planes. P-L-A-N-S. E-S. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. All right. Plane number one is the level playing field, such as this room. Plane number two is where the clerk of the court sits, on a 4-inch high podium above your plane. Plane number three is the witness box, or the jury box. Anything in a box is an enclosed area and cannot be considered. As you well know, since the Constitution of the United States was created, you must have a 12-man jury. What you don't know is that the jury box is built like this with chairs on the X's. So what do you have looking from the top? You have two petite juries of 6 people each, which is illegal. The continuance of evidence of the peanut gallery are divided. So the jury is in a box, and JU means no law, and RY is contract. They are a no-law contract of an illusion. Henceforth, they have no value whatsoever. Never ask for a jury trial because a jury doesn't have a clue how to read and write above a second grade reading level. That's why it's a no-law contract. Then the witness gets put into a witness box, which is an enclosed area, cannot see evidence or give testimony, to a jury box, which cannot see evidence or see testimony, to a judge that's on a plane, not even in the courtroom, as an actor in black robes, mourning justice. And justice, J-U, equals no law. S equals speak. T-I equals title. And C-E equals judge. This is Latin. Judge title speaks no law. And what's the first word you guys do in your anger? There's a location. That's a positive word. Is a positive word. No is a negative word. Law is a dangling participle verb. So what happens? there is plus and plus, now pointing towards no to be positive, making law a negative.